You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Hey guys, Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network and Zodiac TV. We're live this morning. We're outside. It's a beautiful morning here in East Greenbush, New York. We're still the first streaming webcast from East Greenbush. We're going to try to do some of these Sunday shows outside when it's nice, and I hope you guys will keep me abreast of how the video is. Good morning. Carlos is the first one in the room today. What's Carlos got to say? I'm outside too. Good morning. I love being out here, guys, and I can't be cooped up in my studio every Sunday morning if it's nice. So we're going to see how this goes. You guys keep me abreast of how the quality of the show is. We're going to hear some birds. The neighbors have mowed the lawn, so we should be in pretty good shape. Both the squirrels and rabbits are running around. It's still early, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can continue to do this. Guys, I want to thank Mac and Jack for having me on their show consistently. And also we did the Hall of Fame press conference on Friday. We had some technical issues, but we were able to kind of show it and you could hear it. And we didn't get to ask any questions, but that's fine. It was a good experience, a good learning experience for Northeast Streaming Sports. And I had a lot of fun with that. We'll talk a little bit about that. The Hall of Fame inductions coming up, but most of my commentary was from Friday. Good morning, Ken Gifford. He's waiting on his breakfast sandwich. Nice. I've already had my breakfast, a couple coffees. I'm an early bird, man. 5:30. So today we're going to talk about, first thing, we'll get into Major League Baseball. We'll get into the NBA. The playoff situation is shaping up. The Knicks are able to control their own destiny for the fourth spot. We'll jump into that a little bit later. We'll talk about the NHL playoffs a little bit of NFL news. And I think if we have time, we'll take a quick trip around the league. And I'll make some early predictions. And we'll also talk about the Preakness a little bit. We'll see what kind of time we have and how things go and how your guys' comments go. Who we got here? Carlos, what do you got going on? Difference, you have birds and we have sirens from the cops. Yes, it's a little bit different sound. I have spent some time in the city, and it's certainly a different experience than here in upstate New York. So just stay away from those sirens, Carlos, and you'll be fine. Next week, guys, just a real quick note. My guest will be Barry Lyons, former catcher for the New York Mets. Was the backup for the great Hall of Famer Gary Carter on those great Mets teams in the 80s. We'll talk to him about the 86 World Series, all the great players and characters on that team, and his experiences up till now, where he's still involved in minor league baseball in Biloxi, Mississippi. He's an announcer and helped start getting that team started in Double-A. Bleaker birds, deer and no people. Yeah, you got people issues, I'm sure, down there, Carlos. So it's a little harder for me to see your guys' Mets. Oh, man, right? We'll talk about that a little more. Anyway, I'll try to keep up with your guys' comments because it's important to my show on Sundays, I think. So bear with me as I try to see. I may have to get myself a little shade for my screen so that I can see it a little better. My comments are a little bit dark. Carla, it's the same one we just had up there. So I'll do the best that I can. Anyway, let's run through the scoreboard real quickly, Major League Baseball, and we'll talk. We got a few notes to talk about there. We'll look at the standings quick. You guys can certainly feel free, as always, to bring your topics in, and we'll talk about them as we can. Just try to stay where I am. If I'm in baseball, stay in baseball, and it makes it a lot easier. Because if you bring up something I'm going to talk about later, then I'm going to forget about your comment. So that's the only ground rule for my show. Anyway, jumping into the scoreboard, the Mets, as Carlos alluded to, tough loss for the Mets yesterday. They get waxed. They've been playing really good baseball, and they get waxed by the Rays 12-5. 2 innings did them in. I mean, they gave up 5 runs in the bottom of the 4th. They did scratch back to pull within a run, but then they give up 6 in the 8th, which really put them totally the game totally out of reach. So that was that. Oh, hang on a second. Hang on, guys. We're going to try something here. That doesn't do much.
Sorry.
My assistant tried to bring me some shade. My assistant is Dr. Jane Engel Esquire, so she's a bit overqualified for this job. I kid. Anyway, the Mets again playing pretty well until yesterday. The pitching has been outstanding, even with DeGrom. I mean, they got some worries with DeGrom going on the DL, but, gosh, Walker's pitched well. I don't know where my... Excuse me, guys. I got everything in a different place here, so when I have my cough button, I didn't know where to reach. Walker's pitching well. Stroman's pitching well. Bullpen hasn't imploded, well, till yesterday. Actually, the Rays were a doubles machine yesterday as Wendell had 3 doubles, 4 for 5, and Diaz, I think, went 3 for 4 with a couple of doubles. So good games by them. The Twins actually get a win yesterday and beat. Boy, got to get adjusted to being outside here, guys. Everything different. Twins win 5-4 yesterday over the Athletics. The Athletics still in first place in the West. The Red Sox, I think their 3rd win in a row. They blanked the Angels 9-0 yesterday. So the Red Sox, they're continuing to stay with it. And let's see, what's he got here? Pearson did okay, but it's getting crazy, right? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Carlos, but we'll get into some of that probably. The Tigers 9-8. God, the Tigers are bad. If you lose to the Tigers, you're really bad. The Cubs lose to them 9-8 yesterday. Anything of note here? Matt Duffy was 3 for 4, which in the losing cause for Chicago with a home run. The Giants lose to the Pirates, not 8-6. Again, another team that's not good. The Giants have played very well, but you can't be losing to these games to the teams like the Pirates. The Yankees win, get back on the winning side, 8-2 yesterday. Aaron Judge, 2 for 4 with a home run. Aaron Judge is key right now. With Torrey's out and gosh, who knows what's up with Stanton? He did miss a game, I think, but he's just a bat away from getting hurt. Judge has got to stay healthy this year for the Yankees to really compete. And Tyler Wade had a nice day, 3 for 4 yesterday as well. And the Yankees continue to get good pitching, by the way. Vermont pitched well yesterday. And they're going deeper into games, which is important. That's what's carrying the Yankees right now. Their starting pitching has been awesome. The White Sox, who I will talk about in a little bit, I think are the best team in baseball right now. They lose 5-1 yesterday to the Royals, who have really been kind of stinking it up recently. But again, I think overall the White Sox are they're the most interesting team in baseball, I think, and they're also potentially the best. The Astros, who are hot, they've now won 5 in a row. I think they're only a game behind the Athletics. I think we'll look at the standings in a second. They're playing really good baseball. What else we got going on yesterday? The Jays shut out the Phillies. The Jays are starting to play a little bit better baseball, and they're going to stick with it. It's going to be an interesting race in the American League East, right? With the Red Sox playing better than expected, the Rays starting to get it together. What's Drew got here? Don't discount good players on bad teams. Boyd and the Tigers is doing great. Well, I discount them only in the sense that their team is terrible. And they're gonna lose 110 games this year. Yeah, and it's nice that Boyd is having a nice season, but if I'm a Tigers fan, that's not a lot to hang my hat on. Just saying, maybe I'm spoiled being a Yankee fan. The Reds beat the Rockies 6-5 yesterday. The Diamondbacks 11-4 over the Nationals. The Padres 13-3 over the Cardinals. Nice game on Nola, the catcher yesterday for San Diego. He was 3 for 5. The Mariners, interesting. The Mariners hanging in there, third place, I believe, in the West in the American League. They brought up their 2 top prospects yesterday, or this week, I should say, and which I talked about during the week. And they may be thinking they're in win now mode. Not sure. We'll see. The Dodgers win 7-0 over the Marlins. Trevor Bauer pitched really well yesterday, but the Dodgers lose Corey Seager. Breaks his hand getting hit by a pitch from Ross Ditweiler last night, and he's out indefinitely, and that is a big, big loss for the Dodgers. And also, that comes on top of injuries to Cody Bellinger, Pollock, May, the pitcher. Injuries are piling up for the Dodgers. They signed Albert Pujols yesterday. Why? I understand, but you know what? Pujols has not had anything in the tank in 3 years. What are they thinking about? I'm going to go through your guys' comments a little bit. Some nice plays in the Cubs game. Cubs, the Cubs are up and down. Tigers are terrible. Spoiled, no, just typical Yankee fan. I'm not really a typical Yankee fan, Kenny, because I find plenty of fault with my team. I told you this team is flawed, and we'll talk about it some more. We'll talk about it now since we're on this topic. Yanks are very short in the outfield. They're going to have to make a move, I think, because Hicks is out. Who knows how long he'll be out? It's a wrist injury, which is never good. Takes forever to heal these things. And, this team will probably make the playoffs, but they are not built to win a World Series, just the way they're built currently. Not sure the Dodgers can repeat. Dodgers are deep, and I wouldn't count them out just yet, but we'll see. Told me on this show the Dodgers are injury case. You did say it, Carlos, but let's see what Drew's got to say. Pujols is strictly bench platoon, good against lefties. You don't see enough lefties. To me, that's an act of desperation for the Dodgers. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking about. I've watched him play. You can look at his numbers against lefties and say they're better than they are against righties, but I just don't know, guys. I think you're better off going with a kid in that spot or making a trade for somebody else who might be available, because Pujols is, again, he can't play the field. Great player. This is a great move for the Dodgers 10 years ago. Let's take a quick look at the standings. I'll try to keep. I think I'm doing all right keeping up with your guys' comments. My problem is it's hard for me to read them before I put them on the screen. So, anyway, let's look at the American League East. The Dodgers. I'm sorry, boy, I got the Dodgers on the brain now. American League East. The Red Sox continue to lead the Yankees by 2 games, 2.5 over the Blue Jays, and 3 over the Rays. We're playing a little bit better baseball now. They've won 3 in a row. All 4 of these teams are playing pretty good baseball at the moment. It's going to be an interesting summer through the American League East. And the Dodgers and Yankees, I don't think will play yet for another 3 weeks, if I'm not wrong. Could be 2 weeks. No, it would be 3 weeks, I think. June before they get their first series against the Red Sox. And right now it shapes up as a very, very interesting series, their first time around. In the Central, you've got the White Sox with a 1.5 lead over the Indians. The Indians continue to surprise me a little bit. They've lost 2 in a row, but they're 7-3 in their last 10, and they hang around second place in this division. The Royals, who just went through a horrible stretch of 10 or 11 losses in a row, finally get a win yesterday. But they have fallen back considerably from where they started the season. The Tigers are just awful. And as bad as they are, the Twins, who I picked to win this division, as Drew very well knows from our baseball show. We may have to do a update here, maybe around Memorial Day, Drew. We'll see how it goes. But the Twins are just awful. They did win yesterday, but they're 13-24, 9.5 games out of first place, and they're actually behind the Tigers. God, terrible, terrible, terrible. Dodgers can pick when they need him. But how can you just have a guy just sitting on the bench until with the injuries that they have? The Red Sox will fall in the slump. It's inevitable with a small bullpen. I agree, Carlos, with the Red Sox comment. I've said all along, I don't think their starting pitching will hold up, much less their bullpen. They got some pretty good pieces on offense. Some guys have stepped up. Verdugo, if I'm saying his name correctly, that was a great acquisition from the Dodgers. He just had no place to play out there. I bet you they wish they had him now. But that's the way it goes. Where were we? The Central. Yeah, we just talked about the Central. I will tell you that I think the Chicago White Sox are the best team in that division. They got the best starting staff. Let me see. I got a few notes written down here. Bear with me 1 second. Let's go back to my little notepad here. Let's talk a little bit about the White Sox while we're talking about it. And here's some things to think about when we're talking about the White Sox. Damn it. I lost my note. Well, we'll come back to that, I guess. Oh, here, I got him. Tony La Russa, they said, was over the hill. Too old to manage today. The game had passed him by. Well, he's doing a pretty good job. It helps that he's got the best rotation probably in baseball. I believe his fifth starters pitched a no-hitter. Watch my vlog about no-hitters, by the way, from yesterday. Gosh, man. It's going to be the record for no-hitters will get broken, and it's because of the way the game of baseball is played today, among a couple other factors. But watch the vlog. I think it's an interesting take. Still a hitter short to maximize potential, maybe. White Sox have great relief staff, starters, situational hitters, despite the loss of a couple of great players. I agree, Drew. The fact that they've stepped up here, and losing two of their better players, if not for the year, then for a long time, I think speaks tremendously of their bench, La Russa's management, and the emergence of Mercedes has been a huge thing. I mean, he comes out of nowhere. He's a Rule 5 pick. I think he's 28 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and he comes out of nowhere here to just carry this team through the early season. Great job. And you can't discount Tony La Russa. Again, the man has been around baseball forever. Love him or hate him, he's one of the great managers in baseball. And he brings something to the staff that others can't. Carlos, pitching is always an important part of the team, for sure. I agree that you need great defense and solid hitting to win the whole thing. Agreed. Let's go. Again, I refer to this all the time, and Kiss will probably infuriate Kenny, but look at the Yankees from the dynasty team from the 90s. That team didn't have guys hitting 40 home runs. That team didn't have, they had a lot of really, really good players. There's no Hall of Famers. Derek Jeter's Hall of Famer. But there's no guys hitting 40, 50 home runs and doing the things that teams rely on today. They did everything well. They had great starting pitching. They had a great relief staff. They played good defense, and they had timely hitting. Great situational hitting. I talk about it week in and week out here. The way the game is played today, you wonder why there's going to be 10 no-hitters pitched this year. Mark my words, 10 no-hitters. There's 5 now if I count Madison Bumgarner, which I'm counting him. Sorry, Rob Manfred. Put in stupid rules, and then this is what you get, this kind of controversy. Mercedes does have a legitimate minor league record, though. I agree, but there's a reason when guys are 28 years old and haven't gotten a shot. Or maybe they just get overlooked. It happens. That doesn't make me bad. They played the game right. Good manager, knew the game. Great. Joe Torre was smart. Joe Torre doesn't get enough credit for those wins. They think he just sat back and he did sit back and let players play, but there's more to manage. That's part of managing a team, is knowing when to let them play and when to rein them in. He handled a pitching staff great, did everything great. Joe Torre, great manager. It shows you, though, you become smarter when you get good players, right? As you Met fans know from watching Joe Torre manage the Mets. Anyway, just my take on this is funny. I get a little distracted out here, and I got to stay on track here. The whole Pujols situation, by the way, brings up another commentary I want to bring up. Let me get through the rest of the standings here quick. And then we'll talk a little bit more about Pujols. And I want to solicit. Whatever. I want to get some comments from you guys. Let's jump over to the American League West. I mentioned the A's continue to play well. They won again yesterday. Oh, they lost yesterday. Excuse me. But you got the Astros with 5 in a row. You got the Mariners hanging tough. They started off strong. Now they're starting to battle back. They're back to 500. They brought up their 2 best prospects. I think this is going to be a 3-way battle through the summer as well. The National League, the Mets have cooled off a little bit, lost their last couple in a row. McNeil sat out with some overall body cramps, but I guess he's going to be back in the lineup today. They're starting to hit the ball a little bit better. Their pitching, as I said, has really been outstanding. Walker and Stroman. And, of course, DeGrom. But DeGrom's hurt at the moment. And hopefully for Met fans, that will not be something serious. The Braves struggling. They're fighting their way towards 500, but they're only 2 games back. The thing is, nobody's running away with this division. There's only 4 games separate last place and first place. So, I mean, I don't think the Nationals, after watching them play against the Yankees this past week, I don't see them really being a major threat here. Certainly not the Marlins. The Marlins are overmanned or outmanned. But the Braves, I still think, have the best overall team in this division. And nobody's running away and hiding. Let's see, any comments I missed here? Carlos got a comment probably about Joe Torre. Carlos managed situations, not players. Well, you know what? That's part of managing players, Carlos. It just is. He let them play. Correct. That's part of being a good manager, knowing when to let them play. Don't let the birds throw you off. How do birds sound, by the way? I love listening to the birds. That's why I allow them to do the show outside. We got Dave Guyette. You're late today. We're going to talk a little bit about Pujols, a little bit more when I get done with the standings. Kenny's agreeing with me about Ian didn't pitch too bad. Yeah, Ian Anderson, who I believe is Dave Guyette's cousin, by the way. If I'm not, you can confirm that, David. David Guyette from out in Fulton County. I know David's lived in Amsterdam. He might be in Johnstown or Gloversville now, but he is a cousin of Ian Anderson of the Braves. who's pitching he's pitched okay this year, and the Braves are starting to fight back. The Central, the Cardinals, I lost 2 in a row. Everybody's losing now in this division. The Braves, the Brewers have lost 3 in a row. The Reds are the only team on a win streak. Now the Pirates are too, but the Pirates are going nowhere. The Pirates are no good. This division, I still think, comes down to the Brewers are starting to battle back and play better baseball. They've had a bad streak. They were playing better baseball, I should say, until they lost 3 in a row. But they're just too inconsistent. A lot of injuries piling up in Milwaukee as well. And Dave is in Johnstown now, and Ian Anderson is his cousin. So Disney-like. What's that? What are you talking about? You sound like you're in the secret garden. Oh, I like it. I like it, man. I hate being cooped up in that in my office where I set up my studio when it's nice like this. So we'll review this afterwards. We'll see how it goes. Out in the West of the National League, the surprising Giants continue to lead the Padres by half a game. The Dodgers now have won 4 in a row. Again, the injury problems we just chatted about. And then you get the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. Again, the Rockies and the Tigers are probably going to battle it out for the worst record in baseball, unless the Twins are really as bad as they look. When will baseball start regulation like football in the Premier League? I'm not really sure where we're going there, Carlos. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit. We can chat a little more about that. What I'll talk about right now, while Carlos maybe elaborates a little there, let's talk a little bit about the Pujols situation. And I want to get your guys' comments. So the whole situation with the Angels and Pujols, I mean, they signed him to a contract when he was 32 years old for 10 years, which is crazy to begin with, right? But the question becomes, what do you do with these great players, Hall of Fame players? Pujols is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But we see so many of these guys at their end of their careers, and some announce it's going to be their last season. Derek Jeter did it. Cal Ripken, I think, did it. Yeah, again, a lot of guys will do it, and they get their goodbyes around the league for that year. And the teams can use them however they want. I mean, Derek Jeter was a shell of himself by the time he retired, and he probably shouldn't have been playing as much as he did on those Yankee teams. I love Derek Jeter. Love him. But what about the guys who don't want to retire, like Pujols, right? Like Willie Mays. So many of them end on such a sour note. I mean, Henry Aaron got to say his goodbyes to his original city in Milwaukee that he played, the original city he played in, by getting traded back to Milwaukee. So it was a bad team. He got to play, and fans got to see him before he retired. Fans that hadn't got a chance to see him, but again, he was a shell of himself. We saw Willie Mays falling down in the outfield in the World Series. Teams get put into a bad position a lot of times with these Hall of Famers because these great players, especially if they played and maybe this will be less of an issue going forward because guys don't stay with one team or even 2 teams like Pujols has been. But how do you deal with this? If you're a manager, if you're a GM, do you owe some loyalty to that guy? I mean, the Angels think as a team, the players think that Pujols was done wrong here. But again, he's been a drag on the team for 3 years. How long are you supposed to stay with him just because of who he was? Oh, I see what you're talking about, Carlos. We'll talk about that in a second. What do we got here? They should retire when it's time, Dave, but they don't know when it's time. That's the problem. They're great competitors. The thing that separates them from us, well, other than talent, is their desire to play. And some of them just don't know when. I guess Pujols has thought for years that he was just going to magically get it back one day. What's Kenny got to say? Their pride gets in the way. I agree, and again, it's the same thing that made them great, right? Hurts them at the end. And I don't know that it hurts their legacy. I mean, people talked about Willie Mays falling down in the World Series in '73, just looking horrible out there. His legs were gone. But did it hurt Willie Mays' legacy? Don't think so. Willie Mays just turned 90 years old. He's still the best living ball player in my mind of all time. Top 5 players all time. Hold on here. I'm trying to keep up here. It's a business, and if you don't produce, it's the GM's job to say goodbye. I agree. I guess it depends on how you do it. I think the Angels' issue is that Pujols wasn't released. This is Drew. Wasn't released. It's funny I say this is Drew. You guys can see that. Wasn't released in spring training. And it was awkward at the end, and that's the big thing. And maybe that's where these things need to happen. Before, not in the middle of a season. Somebody's mowing somewhere. Hopefully not too close for you guys to hear. If they'd done this earlier in the season, or like as Drew said, before the season, this would not have been as awkward and as ugly. I mean, Mike Trout stuck up for Louis Pujols, and he was upset about the way he found out. But Pujols is a big reason that Mike Trout, doesn't get to play in the playoffs year after year. So it becomes a very, very tricky situation for me on how to handle these guys. Some guys know when it's time to go. Well, I mean, that's cold though. If you're gonna take a totally business approach to this, then yeah, you just fire them. That's what would happen to me. I understand that. When my usefulness is done with my company, they'll say your services are no longer required. It figures this guy behind my house will be down to the lower part of his property mowing his lawn today, right? But I think, I just think in baseball it's a little different. It's sports. It is a business. He's getting paid a lot of money. He's been paid a lot of money. I get it. But we need to find a way to give these guys a graceful out. And maybe the Angels did give him a way out, and he didn't take it. Being called to players makes it harder to sign free agents. That's a good point, Drew. It's a very good point. I just, it's just such a tough situation. There are times where I'm very, very cold when it comes to players, but not guys who have been Hall of Fame caliber players. I'm not going to treat them the same way I talk about Gary Sanchez. Right? Gary Sanchez only had a couple of good years with the Yankees. He's outlived his usefulness with the team. I'm okay. Goodbye, Gary. I would not have said the same about Derek Jeter, who probably stayed around at least a year too long, but he was still a decent player. He was not the player that he was by any means. And he did announce he was going to leave, and the Yankees gave him a chance to say goodbye. And even then, though, you do kind of... I mean, Jeter didn't make it easy on Girardi. Being able to manage that team effectively and work around Derek Jeter's deficiencies at that point. But I wouldn't treat Derek Jeter the same way I would treat a guy, who's earned that respect. I'm sorry, hasn't earned that respect. Bad business makes the Angels look bad. Yeah, I agree. There's just no right answer here. Money has a lot to do with it. Money's got everything to do with it, Dave, for sure. Carlos's comment here. Everybody opened the bank. Why shut the door in his face? Well, it's hard. Well, again, the team made a mistake signing him a 10-year contract when he's 32 years old to begin with, right? But anyway, that's enough of that. Let's talk. You know what? I want to talk a little bit. Maybe we'll dive into this later in a different show, and dive into it deeper. Carlos brings up And I don't know that I'll be able to find your comment, Carlos. If you want to put it up again, fine. Or if you want to reiterate what you were talking about, just put what's maybe Drew, but get into business and it's your job to win. It's funny. I agree with both sides of this topic. I usually can take a very strong stance on these things. And I kind of find myself, it depends on the situation, and I get wishy-washy, and I don't like being that way. So Drew's going to respond. Jeter still could play longer. No, I don't think so, Dave. He wasn't a great player at the end. His range at shortstop was gone, which, it wasn't great to begin with, but he was a very, very good defensive player, made the plays you had to make. Made all the routine plays. But his range was gone at the end, and he had no power. His last couple years, his average was there, but he just was not. He was a shell of himself. He was not the same player. Regulation. So Carlos talked about, we're going to change topics here a little bit. Carlos is talking about regulation. So, and you could correct me if I'm wrong here, Carlos, but we're talking about kind of the Premier League in soccer. What they do is bad teams, good teams in the minor leagues or lower leagues. So there's classifications of leagues, right? And I don't know what they are. Carlos might be able to elaborate. We won't spend a ton of time on this today, but we may jump into it a different time. So you've got your, Premier League and Champions League and whatever else going down. And as teams play well in the lower divisions and teams play poorly in the upper divisions, then they jockey around and they change where they play. So the major leagues, I guess theoretically, the Tigers and the Pirates, let's say, could play themselves out of Major League Baseball and into AAA. Or you'd have to reclassify maybe what they are, the minor leagues. But I just don't know if that would ever work. When you stay in a league, last two teams move down. Right? Kind of what I said there, I guess, Carlos. And two teams move up. So kind of what I was just talking about. But again, the minor leagues aren't made up of teams that are, again, they'd have to change, I guess. There'd have to be more teams and the players would have to be spread out more because you can't bring teams up out of the minor leagues now that are going to play better than the Tigers and the Pirates as a team unless they brought in better players, right? So I guess that would have to be part of the equation. They don't do that in the minor leagues, no, Kenny. They may change affiliations and teams may go up and down, AAA, AA. It all depends on if they change your major league affiliations. Well, for instance, like a good example is the Valley Cats here in Troy. So they were an Astros affiliate. So they played rookie league ball. But the Astros dropped their affiliation, so the Valley Cats are no longer a rookie league team. They're an independent team because no other Major League Baseball team picked them up as an affiliate, which is crazy, by the way. It's a great run organization over here, and I'm hoping to do something with them. I'm trying to get with their publicity department to do some advertising on the show and maybe do some remote broadcasts from there. I think it'd be awesome. But they contracted, so they don't have any place to go. Columbus, at different times, has been a AAA team for different major league teams. The Yankees, most recently that I can think of, but they've been AA as well. Toledo is another place I can remember being AA and AAA, but it's not because of them playing well or poorly. It's more because of the affiliations with the teams and whatnot. I don't know if there's a few. I think Carlos is saying there's a few that could move up. Again, without better players added to the teams that they already have, they wouldn't compete any better than the Tigers or the Pirates. They'd do worse. It's an interesting idea, Drew says, but ML baseball is based on history, and the stats of the franchises would be disjointed and inconsistent. It's true. And I do... few teams better than Pirates. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. And it is an interesting idea, Carlos. But, me, I'm kind of stuck in my ways. And The history of the game means a lot to me. The way we've changed the game already is very disappointing to me. I'm not even watching the same game half the time. If I watch a doubleheader, I don't get to watch 9 innings. I get to watch 7 innings, and that's a complete game, but it can't be a no-hitter. Stupid rule. Runners start on second base in extra innings. No longer baseball. Absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, we'll talk more about that maybe at a later date. I think it's a great topic. I think it's an interesting idea. And it works in soccer. It works in the leagues over there, and potentially it could work. The NFL couldn't do it, obviously, because there aren't lower leagues. Maybe the semi-pro leagues, if they were to be built up again. Listen, semi-pro football in this country was huge back in the 70s when I was, a teenager in my 20s. Even in this area, there was some really, really good semi-pro football. And it's died out over the years. We've talked about it on the Mac and Jack show, and Northeast Streaming Sports is actually going to try to work with the Triborough Semi-Pro League in the city. Carlos may be familiar with them. I'm not sure. We're hoping to telecast remotely some of the Connecticut Falcons games and promote it and maybe try to build it up a little bit. I watch some of the games on YouTube, and it's not horrible football. These guys, there's some good players there. Are they ready to be able to step up in the situation that Carlos is talking about? Absolutely not. But it's possible they could build their way back up. Regulation will make more fans and make better leagues. It's possible. It's possible. Sorry, didn't get my point across. They move players, so maybe teams should be able to make. Oh, I see. So maybe teams should be able to take players from any team. Well, I don't know how that works in the soccer now. It would be interesting. It would be a huge change for Major League Baseball, right? And I just don't. Again, I guess I wouldn't put anything past Rob Manfred because of some of the changes that have been made already. But I just don't think this is something that will get legs. Way less likely to happen now. Very good. MLB does have a stranglehold on the minor leagues, and the contraction that took 40 plus teams this year. Who knows? It may not be done. That may not be done, and it's really sad for a lot of these communities that have been part of Major League or minor league baseball for years and years and years. And teams are just gone. It's sad. It's sad to see. All right, guys, I'm going to move on to our next topic. We're going to move on to the NBA. We'll look quickly at some scores from last night. Quickly, we'll talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame inductions. Not too much because I did do a show on it Friday, and we covered the press conference Friday and such. I just want to mention a couple quick things. So last night in the NBA, the Nets beat the Bulls 105-91. The Nets can wrap up the second seed in the East today. The Lakers win again, starting to play a little better ball with LeBron back. We'll see what happens. They're going to be playing in the play-in game, I believe. We'll check that standings in a second. The Knicks beat the Hornets 118-109, and the Knicks control their own destiny for the 4th playoff spot. They win today against the Celtics. They wrap up the 4th playoff spot and the home court advantage in the first round. They'd likely play the Hawks, which is a winnable series for the Knicks for sure. All they have to do is beat the Celtics today, and the Celtics have nothing to play for. The Celtics are locked into the 7th spot in the play-in tournament. The Celtics did win yesterday over the Timberwolves. The Suns 140-103 over the Spurs. The Suns and the Jazz still fighting to get out for the number 1 seed in the West, but I believe that may be done. We'll take a look here in a second. Bucks 122-108 over the Heat, and that game is the game that gave the Knicks a chance to to control their own destiny and get that 4th seed. It is getting warm here, guys. The sun is on my back and it is warm. Feels great. So in the East, you've got the 76ers have wrapped up the number 1 seed, so they'll play the worst team that comes out of the play-in tournament. The Nets have not yet wrapped up the 2nd seed, but they can do it today with a victory. And the Bucks would still stay mathematically alive if the Nets were to lose, and that they would get the 2nd team that comes out of the play-in tournament. Listen, these 7, 8, 9, 10 teams, this is not the playoffs for them. Only the first 6 teams are officially in the playoffs. It's a play-in tournament. So you didn't make the playoffs if you finished 10th, guys. As I mentioned, the Knicks, all they need to wrap up the 4th spot will be a win over the Celtics today. The loss the Heat had yesterday settled that for them. And it looks like they will finish probably 6th. So I'm looking at, and I guess it could depend on the Hawks and Heat today. But I think that, again, the Knicks could still finish 6th, by the way, if they don't beat the Celtics today. But, I think they will. Celtics have nothing to play for. The Knicks are playing really well, especially at home. They're 24-11 at home. Great job. By Tom Thibodeau as well, Carlos. And in the play-in portion, you're going to have most likely the Pacers. Well, all 3 of these teams that are it's up in the air who the Celtics will play, because all 3 of the Hornets, the Wizards, and the Pacers are tied with 33 losses. And of those teams, the Hornets have lost 4 in a row. The Wizards have played better recently, and the Pacers have been just wildly inconsistent. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here in the East. Before I move on, we'll take a look. Any comments here? I'm sure Carlos has something he wants to talk about. West team will win this year. We'll go to the West in a second. I know you're not putting much hope in or much stock in the Knicks. I do think, by the way, so the Knicks are going to get probably the 76ers in the 2nd round of the playoffs if they beat the Hawks or the Heat. I'd rather see a matchup against the Hawks. They match up much better. The Heat have had their number over the last couple of years. So out West, it does not look like that top seed is wrapped up yet. The Suns are a game behind the Jazz. Again, both of these teams, I cannot say enough about the coaching jobs from Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams. I do think, along with Tom Thibodeau, Carlos, they are the top 3 candidates for the coach of the year. The Nuggets and the Clippers are fighting for 3 and 4, so they're still jockeying for position a little bit today. The Mavericks and the Portland Trailblazers hold down this 5th and 6th spots. The Lakers can still slide in to that 6th spot. They'd have to win today, and the Trailblazers would have to lose. And as it stood now, the Lakers would play the Spurs, who are locked into the 10th spot, and the Golden State Warriors, who I would not count out here. They've played much better basketball recently. They've won 5 in a row, and they've gotten to, I think, 5 games over 500 might be their high water mark of the year. And Steph Curry is just unconscious. Playing is just about money, like NCAA's. I don't know. Part of it is because they want to stop some of the tanking, Kenny. So that's one of the reasons there was a play-in tournament put in, which I think is funny that LeBron was all for this play-in tournament when it started. And it don't get me wrong, Kenny. Money's still involved. Money's always involved. I get that. These are businesses, as you said before. And it's funny that LeBron, as I started to say, was all for this play-in tournament until now the Lakers are facing it. And now he doesn't think it's such a great idea that, they would have been locked into the actual playoffs, at least in the 7th spot. If there were no play-in tournament this year. So I guess it's only good when LeBron does find himself facing it. Anybody else in the West? I think That's it. I mean, nobody's got a chance. It's all about jockeying for position. You got the Lakers with a chance to move into the 6th seed. You got nothing in the East. The top 6 are set. It's just a matter of how they're going to finish. In the West, you still got to battle for that 6th spot in the playoffs between the Lakers and the Trailblazers. And in the in the play-in tournament, you've got nothing left. Just again, teams jockeying for position, which they're pretty well set, I would say. Well, Memphis and the Warriors are. Memphis is playing better basketball recently too. By the way, they've also won 5 in a row out west. So again, don't sleep on these teams. I think there's going to be some. Some of these teams could be ripe for some first round upsets. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. And again, the Knicks, can't say enough about the Knicks. The Nets have got their big 3 back. Are they going to? They've won. Let's see, what have they won? I think they've won 3 or 4 in a row. 4 in a row, the Nets have won. They've had their big 3 back for a couple of games. I just don't know if they're going to have enough games under their belt together to have the type of chemistry they're going to need in the playoffs. I hope they do. Be good for the sport, for both of these New York teams to move through the playoffs, I think. I think Steve Nash is a better coach than he's given credit for. I know Carlos won't like that comment. What's he got here? Carlos being very quiet about the coaching situation in New York at the moment. I went out on a limb with Steve Nash and said he's done a better job than people get credit for. And I've been pretty much beaten down for those comments on the shows that I appear on, the Mac and Jack show and a couple others, and Carlos and some other people who comment in the rooms. But you know what? With everything that's gone on around the Nets this year, this team could have imploded in my mind. I said it before the season. They were going to be a championship contender, or they could potentially implode and be a disaster. And the fact that they haven't, you have to give Steve Nash some credit for that. Maybe he's not a great X's and O's guy yet, but Steve Nash knows the game. And Steve Nash has navigated some very choppy waters here when you factor in the Durant injuries, the Harden trade, first of all, and then the Harden injuries, and then just having Kyrie Irving around has got to be a challenge for any coach. Don't get me going on Kyrie Irving. Good God. So what's going to happen? Don't know. Carlos had to have left. Hope the sirens didn't get him. One other. So anyway, I guess we won't be able to look too deeply into the playoff. Well, I can't. It's impossible to pick who's going to play who because we don't know about that play-in tournament, right? So the teams that make it will get a chance to take a little breather, and the teams in the playoff tournament or the play-in tournament will start playing, I think, on Monday. I'm not sure, Monday or Tuesday. It's 3 games, delays the playoffs till the end of next week. I don't even know the schedule yet. We'll take a look at that, and we'll talk about it during the week, most likely. What's Kenny got here? Oh, more about the play-in tournament. So anyway, one other note in the NBA before we move on. I guess we have to give kudos to Marv Albert, who's going to retire after the season, after pretty close to 60 years broadcasting the NBA and the NHL. He was, when he was just a young man, he was the voice of the Knicks when they won the championship in 1970 and also 1973. He was a voice of the Rangers for a long time. He was also the voice of the NBA on NBC and TNT for many, many, many years, obviously. And, the name Marv Albert is synonymous with the New York Knicks in their glory years. And I think I want to congratulate Marv Albert on a tremendous career. And he'll be missed. I mean, he's, 80 years old, I think. And still, I think, doing a great job doing the games. Hopefully we're still alive here. Anyway, that's the NBA for now. let's move on to the NHL. I want to look at, we're set. The regular season finished up yesterday with a couple of games and a playoff game yesterday, by the way. Let's, before I jump into this, we had the final regular season game in the North. The Canucks beat the Oilers. Probably not a lot of significance to that game. And the Capitals in the first round of playoffs in overtime, 3-2, our first overtime playoff game. It gets exciting. The Capitals beat the Bruins. That's going to be a great series and one that we should be paid close attention to. But what I'd like to do is kind of look quickly at all these first round matchups, and I'll give you my predictions. I'm not the hockey expert, but I do like playoff hockey. We have Jim Beringer on every few weeks. We'll probably have him on soon to kind of take a look at this. I didn't have a chance to invite him today, or I would have, but I did. Time didn't allow, and as you know, I was out last night. If you watched my promo for the show, I was out at Toro Cantina yesterday, if I have it correct, and I might have been overserved on margaritas. Just saying. Great place, though, but bring your wallet if you're drinking. Food is great. Anyway, Pittsburgh Pirates, Penguins, Pittsburgh Penguins against the Islanders. That's number 1 and number 4 in the East Division. These teams were, the regular season went to the Penguins 6-2. I just think that the Penguins are too deep for the Islanders here. The Islanders have been so up and down through the course of the year. To me, the advantage here is got to go to Pittsburgh. This might be a 6-game series, 5 or 6 game series, and I think the Penguins will move on. The other one we just talked about, the Capitals beat the Bruins yesterday, but the number 2 Capitals will play the Boston Bruins. The regular season records there was tied at 4-4. It's going to be interesting, too, by the way, guys. These teams played a lot against one another, within their division because of the whole change in the schedule because of COVID and things like that. But they played a lot of back-to-back games, 3-game series, kind of like baseball, which created a lot of animosity between some of these teams. I do love my Wolf Road restaurants. Yes, I do. Thank you, Drew. I'm actually got to get some of these guys to advertise on the show. One of the reasons I tried to do the promos, and the Wi-Fi at this place was terrible. 2 weeks in a row, my live promos were a little awful as far as quality goes, is because the Wi-Fi in these places is not good. But I want to show them, I can get them some views, mentions. There'll be a couple thousand people see this show through the course of a week. Now, they aren't all here in Albany, obviously, but we need some advertisers. I'm working my way towards a couple. I can't talk about them right now, but we'll see. Anyway, where were we? Capitals and Bruins. This one's pretty even, and I think it'll be a 7-game series. Who knows? You might see overtime in every game. I love playoff hockey. Overtimes. There's no shootouts. You might, if you play 6 overtimes, you play 6 overtimes. Good morning, Mickey. State of Washington checks in. Thanks for joining us this morning, Kenny. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Kenny. You're not quite as far as the state of Washington, but you're way up north there in Miko. Looking forward to playing golf with Kenny, by the way, on the 12th. So anyway, we're going to pick the Capitals to win this one in 7 games. In the Central Division, you got the number 1 Hurricanes against the number 4 Nashville Predators. This was, again, a 6-2 regular season advantage for the Hurricane. And I just think the Hurricane's going to have too much for Nashville in this series. So I'll take Carolina in 6 games. A great matchup. because Florida, it's amazing to me that Florida has taken the NHL the way that they have. The Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning, their fan base is as rabid as any in NHL. And this is a great first round series with the Panthers and the Lightning, the 2 and 3 seeds. It was a 5-3 advantage for the Panthers during the regular season, but I like the defending champions here to win in 7 games. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Lightning to beat the Florida Panthers here in 7 games. Oh, Bleecker Mountain. I don't know why I said Miko. Sorry about that. Where did I get Miko from? Bleecker Mountain. Kenny Gifford. Not to be confused with Walton's Mountain. Maybe it's the same. I don't know. What else we got? NHL hockey. I just picked Tampa Bay. The next game would be in the north. So all these games will take place in Canada. Once the Canadian team comes out of Canada, so once they've played the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, I think it's still up in the air where that team is going to play. They may have to come down and play in Buffalo or someplace if travel restrictions have not changed. That's probably a month. So it's possible that things could have changed by then. But number 1, Toronto, a great story against Montreal. This is going to be a great series. The Maple Leafs did have a 7-2 advantage here, but Montreal is kind of a sleeper here in this tournament. And as well as Toronto's played, I am going to pick an upset here in 7 games, the Canadiens to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. And number 2, the Oilers against the Winnipeg Jets. The Oilers were 7-2 here in a regular season. I'm going to pick another upset in Winnipeg to beat the Oilers in 7 games. I like those. I like Winnipeg and I like Montreal's chances. You got to pick a dog somewhere, and that's where I'm going to go for it. Out west, got some really good teams out west, by the way. Colorado, one of the best records in the league, plays number 4 St. Louis. This was 5-3 Avalanche during a regular season. I have to take the Avs here, probably in 5 or 6 games. St. Louis is not where they were a few years ago when they won the Cup. And the Vegas Golden Knights, number 3 over the 2 seed, playing the number 3 seed Minnesota Wild. I will go with the Golden Knights here in the first round, probably in 6 games. So that's where I see this first round of the NHL playoffs going. Big news in New York is not only did we talked last week with Jim Behringer about how they fired Gorton and Davidson from the front office. Surprisingly, this week the axe fell on David Quinn, who did I think a stand-up job in coaching this team, but a new regime in Chris Drury, and he gets swept out the door with the rest of management, unfortunately. So it's going to be very interesting to see who they bring in here. Obviously, the rumors started very quickly about Tortorella from who just got fired by Columbus for a second go-around here with the Rangers. I just don't see it happening. He just what do we got here? The movie Deliverance? Welcome to Bleecker Mountain. So it's now Walton Mountain. Can't wait for the Kraken to start playing. Yeah. It's coming soon, Mickey. It's coming soon. Next year. Or this year, I should say. Next season. The Kraken in Seattle. New NHL franchise. So, again, let's back to the Rangers coaching search. I mean, right away, the rumors went to Tortorella, but again, he's been here, done that. I don't know if the Rangers are going to revisit that. I don't know that it'd be a bad hire. I like Tortorella. He's I mentioned this a few times on some different shows this week, including my updates on Northeast Streaming Sports Tuesday and Thursday. Tortorella is a lot like, he's kind of the Billy Martin of hockey. He comes in, turns a franchise around, and then he burns really bright, and then he's gone quickly. I think he spent 6 years in Columbus, which might be as long as tenure anywhere. He's done very well for himself through the years, and who knows? He could possibly be in play here. I just don't see it happening. Gerard Gallant is, by most reports, the favorite to get this job. He's probably going to be one of the first to interview. He's a former coach of Vegas and Florida and somewhere else. Took to the final in their inaugural season as an expansion team, something that's never been done. So he is kind of the favorite. But other guys that are being talked about are Mike Babcock. Again, he had a Stanley Cup victory with the Red Wings, but we're talking about a decade and a half ago almost. And he did win Olympics gold medals with the Canadians a couple of times. So a good coach. Bob Hartley, but he's 60 years old. And he did coach Chris Drury with the Avalanche to a Stanley Cup back even longer ago than Babcock. We are talking 2 decades ago. Patrick Waugh had an uneven coaching career with the Avalanche, but he was a former teammate of Chris Drury, and he may get a look here. One of the great goalies of all time with Montreal and with the Avalanche. So he could get a look here. And we'll see what happens. It's very important. The Rangers were really moving along and developing, and all of these moves, I think, are it's very odd that they've made these moves. That's still Mickey talking about the Kraken, trying to keep up with your guys' comments here. So anyway, enough about the NHL today. We'll be talking about this more as the playoffs move along and we get deeper into them. Let's talk about the NFL a little bit. And I want to talk about what do I want to talk about? I guess I want to do a couple of the news items. Texans coach David Colley just would not talk about Deshaun Watson yesterday. He said, we have no comment on that situation. We're getting very close to the OTAs and in training camp won't be that far away. And we don't know whether Deshaun Watson will be in court, whether he'll be in camp. I find it very hard to believe he's going to get traded at this point. But we'll see what happens, I guess. It's just an ugly situation right now. It's bad enough between the team and the player. Now you throw in all the allegations that have been thrown at Deshaun Watson. And, there's a lot of times where these things I kind of take with a grain of salt until there's some proof. But there's just too many allegations for something not to be there. And that's all I'll say about that. Elsewhere, interestingly enough, with the Jaguars, Entonin, their number 1 from Clemson, or number 2 pick from Clemson, the running back, interestingly, took all the snaps the last couple of days in their rookie camp at wide receiver. And Urban Meyer wants to be able to use him as kind of a hybrid. So it's going to be very interesting. He's a great athlete and a great player, and I think it was a tremendous job. Tremendous smart move by Urban Meyer and the Jaguars taking him with that 2nd pick. Obviously they took the quarterback Lawrence with the 1st pick, and I think that it was a great job. I just think the Jags are going to take a step forward quicker than people think. Right? The division isn't all that good. You got the Colts up and down. We don't know how good Carson Wentz is going to be. You got the situation in Texas. You got the Titans, who are fairly consistent. But the Jaguars are in a position to really capitalize and really do pretty well, or improve, I should say, maybe right out of the gate. And I think Urban Meyer is going to be a little different than some of the college coaches that have come into the NFL. And I think the Jags are in position to make a move sooner than some others. And I think the only other thing I wanted to do in the NFL, and I'm going to do this quickly. Well, I don't think I have to do it too quickly. What time is it? Oh, time. We're probably going to finish early. So you guys get your topics ready, guys, because I'm going to finish here in about less than a half an hour. Let me find my notes on this here. Only problem being outside here. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of each division and where I think, based off of where we are today, and this could change a lot through the summer, but based off of the draft and based off of free agency, who's improved the most and who I see winning these divisions right now. The schedule got released the other day. I don't think it's that big a deal. We already know who was playing who. We just didn't know when, right? The biggest news that came out of that was the Patriots and Tampa Bay playing in week 4. I thought it'd be later in the season, but it's going to be big news. It'll get hyped up enough for the next 4 months. Tom Brady coming back to play in New England. I don't want to hear Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick because they don't play each other. Let's see what we got here. Kenny, major mistake with Trevor, but the running back okay. Major mistake with Trevor. That's interesting, Kenny, because I think he's the only sure thing. Myers by the 9th game will get sick. Well, he does have a history, but I think Urban Meyer's got a chance to do something a lot of college coaches have not been able to do. Pete Carroll has, but Pete Carroll was a pro who went to college, who came back, so it's a little different. Let's start with the NFC East. Cowboys are going to be better just because they're going to get Dak back, and Dak has been cleared, by the way, to practice, which is big news for the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys did a decent job of addressing some holes on defense. They did take on a couple of character issues, but this division is not that good. Washington did a great job of improving their defense, which is one of the best in football, even better, making it even better. Problem, they don't have a quarterback. They're playing Fitzpatrick. So the Giants, I like some of the moves that they made. They gave Danny Nichols, Danny Nichols. Did I say Redskins, by the way? If I did, I'm probably going to get banned from Facebook again. Damn it. If I didn't say it, I just said it. The Giants, again, have made some improvements, but my problem is the quarterback, and he does not take care of the football. And the Eagles are the Eagles. Great pick with Devontae Smith, but I don't have faith in Jalen Hurts, so they've got a great weapon and nobody to throw it to him. Dak cleared to lose some more. I don't know. Real quick. So you got my kind of how I think teams have improved. But I see the Cowboys winning this division. And again, it's probably going to take we got 17 games. 9 games might win. 9 and 8 could win this division. They'll probably beat each other up. And we'll come down to the wire with 3 of these teams, with the Cowboys, the team formerly known as the Redskins, and the Giants. But I see the Cowboys, Washington, and the Giants in that order, and then the Eagles pulling up the rear here. Washington wins a division and makes it to the championship game. That's a bold prediction, Kenny. I love their defense. I think Ron Rivera is a great coach. And he's a great story, too. You know, battling cancer last year and doing his cancer treatments and never missing a game. Or a practice. So Washington could go. I think they could win this division. I picked the Cowboys only because it's time for them to really put some of that talent to work. And we'll see what they say. Or see what they do, rather. That's why we play the games. I think you can go any order, to be honest with you. And I couldn't make a hard case against any of these teams winning this division. The problem with Washington is I was shocked by the way that they didn't take a quarterback somewhere in the draft. I wasn't expecting them to take one early, but, you know, 4th round, you're looking at an Ian Book from Notre Dame. You could have gotten Newman, the former quarterback at, where do you play now? Wake Forest, I believe. Wake Forest, he transferred to Georgia, but sat out last year. He fell way back because of not playing. Kind of a Mac Jones type quarterback. So anyway, there were some options for them, and they didn't take a quarterback anywhere there. So I'm a little surprised at that. Rodgers fakes an injury. We'll talk about Rodgers in a minute. Defense wins championships. I agree. Even though all the rule changes get made for the offense, just like baseball, all the rule changes that we have are geared towards making the teams have better offensive production. I mean, defense, you don't give the defenses any opportunity in a lot of cases. So good defenses still beat good offenses in most cases. You saw what happened in the Super Bowl, right? Tampa Bay's defense was just tremendous in that game. So that's a great example of what I'm talking about. Let's go to the North. Since we're talking about the Packers. Again, the Packers go defense with cornerback in their first round pick. Mostly went to help their defense. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is stewing because he didn't get more help. But as I said about Rodgers in my vlog a couple of weeks ago and comments I make consistently here, he'll fake an injury. Rodgers has no leverage. I don't see the Packers trading him. I think they'll sit on this and make him come back. If for me, I'd let him sit and collect the money. Here you go, Aaron. We've taken really good care of you over the years, and what do? If you want better weapons, I keep saying this, right? Go the Tom Brady route and restructure your contract so that they can go out and get better free agents. And by the way, Aaron, don't be telling free agents before the beginning of last season that you probably won't be around. So how many free agents didn't sign that would have helped you win last year, Aaron? You chased away by saying, don't come here because I probably won't be here after this season. That really helps your franchise. That's taken care of you for the last 15 years and put a bunch of money in your bank account. Oh, and by the way, Aaron, you were in position to win last year. Your team was good enough. Your skill players were good enough to get to the NFC Championship game that you would have won if you had just looked to your right. By the way, I think you did look to your right and run the football for a touchdown. But no, you're looking to make a more spectacular play, and you didn't. Then you're mad at your coach for kicking a field goal. I don't disagree with you, Aaron, but if you had just run the ball 5 yards into the end zone, your team would have been ahead and there would have been no field goal to kick. I should trade him to Texas. I assume you mean as punishment, Kenny, because that would be a fate worse than death. I do think the Vikings improved a bit. Not a fan of Kirk Cousins, but I think the Vikings, they've got some offensive line. They picked an offensive lineman, and they've shored up that offensive line, and Cook is kind of their bread and butter. They want to run the football. They want to play old school football, more old school. Again, they're relatively speaking old school football, as much as you can today. So I think they'll be better than they were last year. I kept waiting for them to turn the corner. Rick's not with us today. I think Rick is driving home from the Hall of Fame ceremonies, which I didn't touch on, and I will when we get done here. I kind of missed that with my NBA chat, but we'll talk about it real quickly in a bit. But I see the Packers probably still having enough to win this division, assuming Rodgers plays. If he doesn't, I will take the Vikings. And I'll pick the Bears third and the Lions fourth. The Bears, you know what? I mean, they did a great job getting up to get the quarterback, Justin Fields. But the problem there is the coach. Mitchell Trubisky has talent. And I hope he's able to reestablish himself. He won't, he's not going to get a lot of playing time in Buffalo, but I hope he gets coached up and he gets himself in a position to get another job because I think he's that good. I already had that one. No, anyway. But Nagy screwed up the same to Justin Fields before he gets fired. He probably bought himself, and the GM probably bought himself, Pace probably bought himself another year by taking a kid quarterback, and they're not going to be expected to win this year. So they may have bought themselves another year, but Justin Fields had better not be awful under Nagy or he is in big trouble. The south of the NFC, Buccaneers, they re-signed all their key players. Tom Brady continues to do a great job as the quarterback and the GM of this team. Interestingly enough, their second round pick was Kyle Trask from Florida, who would theoretically be Tom Brady's heir apparent, which Tom Brady's not really known for being. Well, he helped Jimmy Garoppolo grow as a quarterback, but he wasn't interested in him supplanting him and teaching him the ropes in the sense that he would take over his job. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here, because Tom Brady doesn't want to play one more year. He thinks he can play 2 or 3 more years, and we'll see what happens. What do we got here? Oh, there we go. I think I already saw this. How come I can't find these? What about Detroit? I'll back up. So Kenny asked about Detroit. I'm not a big Jared Goff fan. I like the coach hire of Matt Campbell, so I think the line will be better, but I think they're going to be a little ways away from winning. They lost their best wide receiver to the Giants in free agency. Again, I'm not a huge Goff fan. I think they're going to need to find a quarterback here in the next year or two. I mean, he'll be fine to stop the gaps. And I could see the Lions finishing ahead of the Bears because I think the coach is going to be a better situation. I like Campbell a lot. His press conference was a little bit over the top, but it's possible the Lions could finish third in that division. And maybe they could surprise. I don't know. If in fact Rodgers doesn't play, I guess that division would be wide open for anybody. Kenny also says the great state of New York says now I can burn, so outside now. Be safe. Oh, great job. Thanks for stopping in, Kenny. Be careful burning. Don't burn down Bleecker Mountain. So anyway, back to the South. Again, the Buccaneers are obviously the class of this division. The Saints are going to fall off big time, I think. I don't think Winston is going to be a winning NFL quarterback. He cannot take care of the football the way that Drew Brees did through his career. And I think the Saints are going to fall backwards here, and they could very well finish last in this division because I think the Falcons and the Panthers are going to be much better. I'm going to take the Panthers to finish second here. I love them picking up Sam Darnold. I think he will do well with reuniting with Richie Anderson. I think that if McCaffrey stays healthy at running back, this offense will be really good, and their defense is making solid progress. And I think the Falcons will be better. The tight end Pitts from Florida, he's probably could potentially have the most impact of anybody in this draft. Position, he's the best player in the draft, I think. Obviously, you're not taking a tight end with the number one pick when you got all these quarterbacks available, but I think he's the most impactful player coming straight out of college. That's still the last topic. So, anyway, I see this as Buccaneers, Panthers, Falcons, and Saints. And the Falcons and Panthers might flip-flop there because I think both teams are going to be much better this year. NFC West is wide open like every year. One of the best divisions in football. I think the AFC East is reaching that point as well. The Rams, though, with the addition of Matthew Stafford, I am not sold that is a big upgrade over Jared Goff. I just am not. The Seahawks have some issues with Russell Wilson. The 49ers, I don't know. Is Trey Lance going to play right away, or are they going to let him grow behind Jimmy G? And the Cardinals have got Kyle Murray, and they brought in J.J. Watt to play on defense. And if they have improved that defense and they are a little bit more, if they're a little bit more diversified on offense, I think this team could make a huge jump this year. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Cardinals win this division. And I'll pick the Rams second, the Seahawks third, and the 49ers fourth. This is now. We could change this in September, by the way. Let's go to the AFC. Let's, hold on. We got a couple comments here I missed. Drew, Tight ends traditionally have an issue in their first year. Yeah, but not guys like Kyle Pitts. I think he's a generational player, and I think he's going to really make an impact here on day one. That's why the Falcons are considering trading Julio Jones, because they feel they got another weapon. And they're in win now mode. So I would not trade Julio Jones if I'm the Falcons. And if they want to trade him, I hope they call up Bill Belichick. But they're in win now mode. I mean, Matty Ice is getting up there in age. If they're going to win, it has to be now. What's Mickey got here? He thinks Aaron should play for the New York Jets or the New York G. Well, they both have quarterbacks, so he's not going there. AFC East. The Bills. I'm shocked that the Bills didn't do something at the running back position. This division is going to be very, very, very good. The Jets, who I think had the best draft of anybody, are going to still finish last. And Jet fans, you can't be judging this season on wins and losses. Yes, you can't have 2 wins. 1 or 2 wins is going to be a nightmare, but don't be expecting to go 500. It's going to take some time for this team to get better, but they're on the right track. I think they made a great hire in their coach. I think they had a great draft. If Wilson is what he appears to be, and he's saying all the right things, he's saying how he needs to go out and win the job. He's not just expecting it to be handed to him. So I like what he's saying so far. But this team's going to finish last in the division just because of how good it is above them. But the Bills, I wasn't crazy about the Bills draft. I like the fact they signed Trubisky for a backup for Allen, because Allen's going to get hurt the way he plays the game. Or liable to get hurt. I shouldn't say will get hurt, but he's, and Trubisky plays a very similar game to Josh Allen. So the offense doesn't have to change when he comes in. The Dolphins continue to improve. It's all going to come down to Tua. Their defense is really good. They're really good. They're not great in any aspect of the game, but they're really good in all of them, especially special teams. So important, guys. We forget about special teams all the time. I think I talked about this with Mac and Jack the other day, or somebody. We never talk about special teams, but it's a huge part of the game, right? And the Dolphins are good in every aspect: defense, offense, special teams. And they win all through all of those avenues. So I think the Dolphins will certainly be better, and they added a great weapon in Waddle for Tua. It all comes down to Tua. If Tua's a good quarterback, the Dolphins are going to be really good. And the Patriots, they made tremendous strides. They get a lot of guys back from on defense. Well, a lot of guys back from opt-outs due to COVID last year. And also they improved their defense. They improved their offensive skill positions. And it's all going to come down to the quarterback. If Cam Newton's a quarterback, well, they're not going to do very well. If Mac Jones is for real and can play well enough in camp, and if he's the best player in camp, I think he'll be the day one starter, the game one starter, if he's the best player in camp. If he's not, then it might take a few more weeks before he plays. But if Cam Newton's the starter here, the team's going to struggle. The team's going to struggle mightily. So I will pick this. I'm going to go a little surprise here. Dolphins, Patriots, Bills, Jets. That's my May prediction. We'll talk again in September. The North. This division, hard to read. Are the Browns for real? Are the Ravens good enough on offense? Can Lamar Jackson continue to play the game that he plays? Will NFL defenses catch up with him? And will the Bengals make a step forward now that they've got, hopefully, Burrow's back healthy and added his former running mate there at LSU and Chase to the roster? So improvement-wise, I think the Bengals have improved themselves the most. The Steelers had a nice draft, and they didn't address their quarterback situation. Big Ben looked lost last year. They looked lost. And I just don't know that they're going to win with him as the quarterback. The only quarterback move that they made was bringing in, what's the guy's name? Played with Washington, first-round draft pick from Ohio State. Drew, help me out. Skipping my mind here. He's not going to play. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. I see this division: Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. Sorry, Steeler fans. Big Ben is not going to find the fountain of youth. The AFC South we talked about a little bit before. Colts with a big move for Carson Wentz. Reunite him with Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator in Philadelphia when he was playing very well. Problem here is they don't have a lot of protection for him. Their offensive line is not very good. They have a really good running back. Jonathan Taylor is going to be really, really good. Plus, they've got the other kid whose name is escaping me now. I want to say Mac, but I don't think that's right. A lot of talent. Offensive line issues could come back and bite them. Titans, I didn't see where they did a whole lot to improve what they had. And they're relying on Derrick Henry so much. I just don't know if they can continue that. The Jaguars I already talked about. I think they are primed to potentially make a big move in this division. And the Texans are a mess. I don't care if Deshaun Watson plays or doesn't play. The Texans are a mess. So I see this as Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Texans. And finally, the AFC West. Chiefs are just too good. Chiefs really improved their offensive line, signing Joe Thuney from the Patriots, plus a couple other additions to the offensive line. They got all their key people back. They made some improvements on their defense. And that offensive line is the key. You saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That can't happen again. I think Kansas City's still the prohibitive favorite to repeat in the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. But I'm not going to make that prediction just yet. The Chargers, I thought this would have been a better landing spot, to be honest with you, for Urban Meyer than Jacksonville, as you had a quarterback and you know he's good in Herbert. What's Drew got here? Titans lost receiving playmakers. Good point, Drew. Again, I don't see where the Titans got any better. They're going to be more reliant on Henry than ever before. Back to the West, the Chargers. Again, they'll get to have fans in their stadium. That's probably the biggest improvement for them. The Broncos traded for Teddy Bridgewater. Fine. He's a nice stopgap quarterback. He won't kill you. But there's a reason that the Saints didn't keep him around to be Drew Bledsoe's successor. There's a reason the Panthers traded for Sam Darnold. Teddy Bridgewater likely will be the starting quarterback for the Broncos. Probably not a good sign. And the Raiders, I'm not sure what they're doing. Drafted a really good offensive lineman in the first round from Alabama, the Outland Trophy winner. But I think they're a mess. I think the quarterback situation is a problem there. I think Marcus Mariota might be a better quarterback than Derek Carr. And if you got two quarterbacks, that means you have none. So I'm not sure that they're better or worse at this point. We'll see where we go. The Chiefs, I'm going to go Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. That's it. That's the NFL, guys. Right now, that's where I see us. And there's not much more to talk about in the NFL except that. Let me go back quickly. I want to congratulate the Hall of Fame inductees yesterday one more time. Kobe Bryant. If you didn't see that, Michael Jordan and Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's widow, tremendous presentation speeches yesterday. Very moving. And it's a shame that Kobe wasn't here to see that. Kobe was a great player, obviously, very influential player, and somebody who I think grew greatly throughout his career as a player and as a person. And I congratulate him, even posthumously being elected to the Hall of Fame. Kevin Garnett, again, great player. As we talked about, congratulations to him. Tim Duncan, again, one of the overlooked guys. He's going in with it's amazing that he goes in, and I talked about this Friday, that he goes in this class with Kobe Bryant and Garnett, two players who didn't go to college, came straight out of high school to the NBA. Yeah, going back to the Raiders, finish up football. Drew's talking about the problem is Chucky, and yes, John Gruden has not been the second coming in his second coming to the Raiders. Anyway, Tim Duncan, I think it's ironic for him to come in with two great players who never stepped foot on a college basketball court, came straight out of high school, but he is one of the last great players we're going to see that played 4 years in college and then came to the pros and was just a tremendous player. The most fitting nickname of any NBA player I can think of, the big fundamental. This guy did everything well. He played a game that doesn't get played anymore. He had an array of low post moves and a mid-range bank shot. Which, when's the last time you saw one of those? They don't take mid-range shots anymore, much less bank shots, right? Plus, he was a great defensive player. One of the most underrated players in NBA history. Duncan's all class all the time. I agree, Drew. And he kind of gets lost in this, and because he goes in with Kobe and the whole situation with his tragic passing, there was a lot of attention paid to him, as there should be. But Tim Duncan was a great player and a great person, class all the way, as Drew said. Also, Rudy Tomjanovich goes in, I think, both for his contributions as a coach and a player. People remember him as a two-time winner in the NBA championship with Houston Rockets, but he had a 33-year relationship with the Rockets, and he was a great player when he played. He was an all-star, a steady player, night in, night out on some Rockets teams that weren't very good. And he stayed with them as a scout, and he was an assistant coach, and he ended up being the head coach when Don Chaney resigned, and a couple years later, he takes them to back-to-back championship. So congratulations to Rudy T. Eddie Sutton, also honored posthumously. Great coach in college basketball. Never won a national championship, but turned 3 programs around that were horrendous when he got there. In Creighton, Arkansas. Did great things at Arkansas. Got to 2 Final Fours. I'm sorry, 1 Final Four. Got to 2 Final Fours with Oklahoma State. He had some great players at Arkansas, and Moncrief and Delft and Brewer. Went to Kentucky. Things didn't go so well there. There were some scandals and whatnot, and he kind of got chased out of town. Went back to his alma mater, Oklahoma State. It was Oklahoma A&M when he was there. But a great coach. Over 800 wins. And he turned Oklahoma State around, by the way, and took this team that was nowhere for decades. I mean, they were really good when the great Henry Ibo was the coach, but that was back in the 60s. And he did turn around Oklahoma State. So congratulations to him. And a nice induction by his son, Sean, who succeeded him at Oklahoma State. Congratulations also to Tamika Catchings, daughter of Harvey Catchings, who played with the Sixers and some other teams in the NBA. Really good NBA player. She was a great player at Tennessee under Pat Summitt, 4-time All-American, and a great player in the WNBA. And she's the first player ever. She was the first player ever to record a quintuplet. We talk about we talk about getting. Oh my gosh, I forgot what we call it now. Oh my gosh. Anyway, she's the first person ever to get a quintuplet, doubled figures in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks in a game. Tremendous player. Congratulations to 2 women coaches. One, Kim Mulkey on the Division I level. She was an All-American at Louisiana Tech, won all the awards you can win, won 2 national championships, won Olympic gold medals, all kinds of international awards. And then Coach Baylor for 20 years, winning 600 games and 3 national championships. And then she goes to LSU. She's going to be her first-time coach at LSU now for her, after having a great run at Baylor and taking on a new challenge. And the game of women's basketball has grown greatly over the last decade, guys. Really good basketball when you watch it. And it's played much more fundamentally sound than maybe the men's game today, because you don't have all the aerial acrobatics, right? So congratulations to Kim Mulkey. And Barbara Stevens, another great women's coach, and one who has done it at a lower level. So now the lower levels, which are important in college, because not all these kids can play at Division I, either because they don't have the grades, and I know that sounds funny, but it's true, or they aren't good enough. But there's a place for them to play in Division I or Division II, Division III. And Barbara Stevens has coached Bentley for nearly 25 years, almost 3 decades, and has over 900 wins and several national championships at the Division II level. And she was a great player at Division II as well. She had one stint in Division I, but it didn't go that well. And also congratulations posthumously to Patrick Baumann, who was really instrumental in the world of international basketball. And he died tragically in 2018 at the youth games. He was only 52, 53 years old, I think. He was a huge influence on a lot of international, a lot of things on the international level, making international basketball better. That one of the reasons you see all these guys coming over these days is the way that guys like Patrick Baumann have promoted the game in Europe. He was a player. He was a coach. He was a referee. He trained everybody to do all of those things. Then he was the head of FIBA, which is the governing body of international basketball, the Federation of International Basketball. So congratulations to all of these nominees. Last thing I want to chat about real quick, and then I will see if you guys get your topics ready. If you're still with me, I haven't lost you. We'll finish up the show with your topics if you have any to cover. If not, we'll finish up a little early today. The Preakness Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit, upset yesterday by 11-1 Rombauer. 11-1, ridden by Flavian Pratt, and trained by Michael McCarthy, his first Triple Crown race winner in his career. So congratulations to them. That we avoid a potential Triple Crown winner with a huge asterisk. Things are still up in the air with Medina Spirit. He finished third in this race, and if a second drug test from the Derby comes back positive, he's liable to lose that crown as well. Just a black eye for racing again. Bob Baffert doesn't show up yesterday because he didn't want to be a distraction, but he's already a distraction. The big problem here is that, I don't think they came clean soon enough about what really happened and why the horse might have tested positive. He originally denied any use of any banned substances, but then admitted to using a banned substance, only banned on race day to treat an issue with the horse's hindquarters. So could be a black mark on Bob Baffert's great resume if this comes back with another positive test here this week. So we'll be waiting for that. If you're a horse racing fan, it's really a sad story, and I am not as big as I used to be, but still a fan. So that's about all I got for today, guys. It's quarter to the hour. We can still chat for a few minutes. If you got any topics we haven't talked about or we have talked about and you want to circle back and talk more, whether it's Albert Pujols, if you want to talk anything about, we can talk about the vlog that I did other day. If you didn't watch it, I talked about no hitters in today's game and how I think the record will be broken. Drew, maybe you want to pick up on this a little bit. I talked about how I think no hitters the record will be broken. The record is 7. There's already 5 in my mind. Sorry, Rob Manfred. You're the reason Madison Bumgarner could not throw 9 innings and get a no-hitter. But I think the way the game is played is ripe for a record this year because, the ball has been deadened, but it's not deadened in the sense that you can't hit it as hard. But if you hit it, if you loft it too much, the ball doesn't carry as far. But if you hit line drives, the exit velocity, I hate the term, but it's relevant in this topic, that you can still hit the ball just as hard and you'll hit line drives and potentially doubles and triples up the gap and make the game exciting again, rather than standing around waiting for home runs and walks and strikeouts. That is another reason I think the game is ripe for a record number of no-hitters this year. I think there could be 10. Because everybody's trying to hit home runs, hit into shifts. The baseball, we don't teach guys to hit around players. We teach them to hit into shifts. See if Drew's got a comment here. I'm sure he does. Mariners. Only Kelnick was called up. Oh, Rodriguez didn't come up? That's interesting. I thought they were going to bring him up to start on Thursday. The pitcher. So that's interesting. The Mariners still might be in. The Mariners have some really good prospects. I think Kelnick is, if I'm not mistaken, Drew, is the like number 3 prospect in all of baseball. As the temperatures heat up, so do the hitters. I think the I don't know. Again, it's not the weather. It's the way the game's played. If you're going to have guys just constantly go up there and swing for fences and hit into shifts, you'll see more and more no-hitters. Not just this year, but forever. Until players start playing the game differently. Don't legislate it. Don't put in a rule eliminating a shift. Teach guys how to play the game the way the game's supposed to be played. Hit around fielders. You hit where they aren't. You don't hit into the middle of shifts over and over again. Common sense. It's not how I learned how to play the game. Gosh. I mean, yes, Drew, your comment is accurate. Hitters tend to warm up. But the factors that I just mentioned will still be there in the warm weather. And the baseball has been proven to carry lofted to carry less distance. But you can hit it just as hard. But if you hit it just as hard into the teeth of a shift, it doesn't matter. So please, Rob Manfred, as I said in my vlog the other day, please don't change the rules. And by the way, since I'm talking about this, Drew, what do we got here? Number 4. There you go. Well, that was close. 3, 4. So the other thing I've talked about with the no-hitters is the fact that, and Drew, I don't think you and I have had this conversation. Maybe we have, and I forgot. I don't know. The fact that there's only 4 no-hitters this year is awful in my mind, that Baumgartner has not been credited with no-hitter. The rule that was put in 1991 or 1992 because, in part, the Perez brothers, and I don't think it was the same year, it might have been back-to-back years, had pitched range short and no-hitters, 5 innings and 6 innings. And they put in a rule that you had to pitch 9 innings. Well, there was no rule at that time that double headers could only be 7 innings. That's a complete game. So Madison Bumgarner pitched a complete game, but it's not a no-hitter. One of two things needs to happen. What I'd prefer is we go back to 9-inning baseball because that's how baseball's played. Major League Baseball's played. After you graduate high school, you don't play 7-inning games anymore. I guess there are some minor leagues that might play doubleheaders, 7 innings, whatever. Don't care. 9 innings. Or change the freaking rule. Madison Bumgarner didn't have a chance to pitch the 8th and 9th inning. Why is he being punished by not having that no-hitter recognized? I think it's ridiculous. I think the Oakland A's should move to New Jersey. It's good. Wait and see if Drew has a comment on my last comment, but that's interesting. Oakland is talking about moving again. I read an article the other day, and it's escaping me where they were having some discussions. Gosh, they are having discussions about moving the team. I doubt it'll be in New Jersey, Mickey, but they might. It's possible. Drew, agree with you on official complete game no-hitters as opposed to rainouts. It's ridiculous, right? I mean, how can it be officially in a complete game but not be a no-hitter? A complete game. You caused this problem around Rob Manfred. You can fix it. Change the rule back. First of all, just play 9 innings. The things you're doing, again, I'm a broken record here, right? But the things you're doing are ruining baseball. Ruining it. Man on second base to start extra innings. It's no longer baseball. Turn it off. I don't even watch extra inning games anymore. It's ridiculous. Then teams, you have that advantage, and teams don't even capitalize on it. They're still trying to hit home runs. Why do you need a home run? You got a guy in second base. 7-inning no-hitters. Experimenting with eliminating the shifts in the minor leagues. Stupid. Stupid. Just play the game the way it's supposed to be played. You don't need the rules. Moving the mound back. Gosh. Unbelievable. It's scary, right? I mean, come on, guys. It's a great game. It's the greatest game ever built, ever designed. And you're ruining it. You really are. I'm not sure baseball can survive Rob Manfred. All right, guys. Last call. Got anything else for me? If not, I'll do a couple of housekeeping things. Next Friday, my guest will be Barry Lyons, former catcher for the New York Mets. Was part of the 86 World Series winning Mets. His career really was past that a little bit when he really started to become the number one backup, if that's a thing. Number one backup to the great Hall of Famer, great Gary Carter. But Barry's going to have some good stories for us about those teams, and also about some minor league efforts that he was part of in Biloxi, Mississippi, getting a Double-A team there, and the success that they've had until COVID, and now they're trying to come back from COVID, and he does announce the games there as well. So I'm excited to have Barry on. In a couple of weeks, I'll have Andre LaCroix, who is a really, really good NHL and WHA hockey player, and we'll talk to him about his career and how the game has changed in hockey, and we'll talk about the playoffs a little bit. And then I'll let you know about the guests after that. Next week, again, potentially, we could be having a live broadcast of the Connecticut Falcons semi-pro football team. They play in the Triborough Football League. We had some technical difficulties we couldn't work out this week. Again, we're going to be doing it remotely. So theoretically, Saturday night, I'll do the game. I'll do the play-by-play, and Jack Walsh from the Mac and Jack Show would do the color commentary. So we'll see how that works out. There's still some details to be worked out about how to get a feed to the game, because I'm not going to Connecticut to do the game. And we will be looking to broadcast the remainder of their schedule into the playoffs. And if they get to the semi-pro Super Bowl in Florida, theoretically, we will broadcast that too if we can get this situation righted. Again, I'll keep you abreast of that as we go forward. Guys, I thank you all for tuning in again today. I hope this went well. I'm going to I have no music. Oh. Boss. See, I'm out of sorts. I usually have my soundboard to my left. Guys, I thank you for tuning in with me today. I thank you for watching. I hope the outdoor shots were good. I'm going to watch this a bit later and see how it went, see how it sounded, see how it looked. I want to be able to do this on Sundays when it's nice so that we can all have a little change of scenery from my studio look. But I've enjoyed having you all with me. I enjoy your comments and the back and forth that we have on Sundays. And I want to thank you all and all the groups that I share this to later on today as well. So, guys, we'll see you later. Have a great Sunday afternoon. Keith Engel for DGI Sports Talk and Northeast Streaming Sports and Zodiac TV. We'll see you next week.